4th time we've talked about diversity and inclusion, and it's really a time to celebrate and reflect. So celebrate the winners of our awards, but reflect on how much progress we are making. So many of you in the room are signatories to 25 by 2025. There's 191 of you, and I'm going to share some data on how we are actually achieving our targets, because we really are at a reflection point. We're kind of halfway through the program, and we made some big commitments that will change the dynamic of the industry. But it's no longer, what I start to see when we talk to our signatories is no longer a dialogue about, well, where we're doing it because it's the right thing to do. It's actually about business results and business benefits. And that's a really important thing for us to bear in mind. And that's why I'm really delighted that we'll be having a short panel discussion with Anna Stewart and Robin Hayes and Poppy Khoza from the South African Civil Aviation Authority and Robin Hayes from JetBlue, talking about tangible business results. While they get ready, I want to share with you where we actually are against our progress. So 147 of our signatories have submitted data for 2022. And I just want to remind you, 25 by 2025 is very deceptively simple. Commit to increasing the number of senior women to 25% or by 25%. And I just want to show a video now to show you exactly how far we are progressing along that journey. So if you can show the video.
Launched in 2019, IATA's 25 by 2025 is a global initiative to change the gender balance within the aviation industry. There are 191 signatories to the initiative, and all are committed to delivering the 25 by 2025 targets and to report on their diversity metrics. The numbers from 2022 show the signatories are making progress. Many have already achieved the targets and are also committed to exceeding them. In 2022, women constituted 42% of employees amongst signatory airlines. That's a small increase since 2021, but the trend is in an upward direction. There are more women in senior leadership roles, with 28% of leadership roles now taken by women, an increase from 24% the year before. That's also reflected at the chief executive level. There are 28 women in CEO roles, an increase of nearly 20% from 2021. In the technical area, there's an upward trend of engaging women, with almost 1/5 of roles held by women, an increase of 7% year on year. Europe and Asia Pacific are leading the way with women working on the flight deck. Over 1,000 new women pilots started flying with IATA's 25 by 2025 signatory airlines. Although that's an increase of 25%, women pilots still only account for around 5% of all pilots in 2022. The aviation industry is continuing to improve on diversity. The ramp up from the pandemic provides an opportunity to accelerate progress towards the 25 by 2025 targets.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome Poppy and Robin. As we saw there, we have seen progress in terms of female representation across a variety of roles, but clearly there is a lot more work to be done. I think that last statistic on pilots, 5% of pilots are women, is particularly disappointing. Robin, let's start with you. How do you feel the progress has been since the last time we were all here discussing this topic a year ago? And maybe pick up on the pilot issue.
Yeah, no, I think the pilot issue is one that we absolutely can and must do better. And you know, we're making progress, but nowhere near the amount of progress that we need to make. And I think we have to be very innovative. So at JetBlue, for example, we've historically had between about 4 to 5% of our pilots are women. And so we looked at that and said, we've got to do something different. So we created a program, we created many programs, and one of the things that we did was we said, okay, if you come and work for JetBlue for 2 years in any job and you want to be a pilot, we'll put you into one of our pilot training programs. Family members can also learn to fly as well. And so we've created all these new paths to become a pilot, and we're making progress. So in some of these more recent pathways, we're up to 18% women pilots and 46% diverse. So still not the 50% that you need, but better than 5%. And I think it gives us hope that we are making progress now, and we're making it more quickly than we've done in the past.
There's what airlines can do, but there's also a lot to be done at a state level, I think. And Poppy, with your experience at ICAO as a president of the Assembly, the first female president to be elected, did you feel like there was enough commitment on diversity and inclusion at that top level?
Well, not yet. I think if you look across the room, I think it is really a testament that we haven't really done so much at state level, because in my view, it all starts at government level. If we were to go back to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, I think it's goal number 5, which raises the gender equality issues as a fundamental right. And until we get it right at the government level, it's very difficult to get it right at levels below. I know that the industry, many industries are trying their level best, but in my view, especially at that level, ICAO level, we haven't really done so well. And if we can get it right at that level, and in fact demand that operators, all industries, they step up and make sure that we create a conducive environment for women not to be intimidated by industries such as civil aviation. It will make it so normal for young girls and women to want to enter the space without feeling small or intimidated, the better we can see, results. I think Robin was just touching about the statistics. We always talk about the statistics.
We always talk about the statistics. I was going to ask you whether you think we do it
feeling
too
like
much.
We are really, as women, becoming statistic.
Which is not how a woman wants to feel.
That's not how we want to.
You don't want to be a statistic for
No.
some corporate diversity scheme.
No.
You want to be hired on your merits.
Absolutely.
And I think that's an important part of the discussion. Robin, you've spoken about this before. What are the real tangible benefits to having a diverse workforce?
Well, our workforce is very diverse. The problem is the leadership is not diverse enough. And then we have certain areas like pilots and maintenance technicians that aren't diverse enough. So, I think we looked at and said, we're hiring really diverse people, but we haven't done a good enough job in terms of developing people into leaders and other roles. So we've created, I talked about the pilot program I just talked about. We've done the same for frontline crew members. So if you're working in airports or in flight and you want a pathway into finance or marketing or other jobs, what we were finding is people were applying for those jobs, they weren't being successful. And part of that is because we hadn't equipped them with the skills to be successful. Right? You've got a job in finance, you're probably going to go and hire someone who's worked in finance. And so you just propagate this issue that we've had. And so by creating programs where we could put frontline crew members, again, who are very diverse, through these corporate roles and then provide them roles at the end of it. And it's a 20-year process. I mean, Ursula, who's our CFO, she joined JetBlue as an intern 20 years ago. And so, it's a journey, but you just have to focus on it. And look, DEI is, Jane reminded me, our head of diversity at ICMO, she said it's not flags and cupcakes. It's not even an initiative. It is a way of life that you have to embed into your organization.
Poppy, what do women bring to a business in terms of real benefits?
I'll just challenge you on something very simple, something that I've just thought about as you asked the question. If I were to ask you now, Anna, to lift this table using your left hand, I'm sure you will struggle.
Do you want me to try?
You can try. But if you were to use both hands, so men and women, to pick up this table, it makes it much easier. So in a nutshell, use both hands, men and women, leverage on their collective intelligence, and get the results that you want to see. If I were to ask you now, move this table down there using your left hand, you will not be able to do it alone with one hand. But if you were to use both hands, men and women, to lift the table from here to there, it will be much easier. So both hands, men and women, can produce better results for any organization.
I'm not going to move the table. I mean, I was reading a McKinsey report on diversity, 2021, and they said when women are well represented at the top, companies are 50% more likely to outperform their peers. But how do you account for it, Robin? How can you show tangible results?
You know, I think, like, I know there's this phrase, like, you know, it doesn't get done unless you measure it. But I think you just know. I think when you've got a diverse leadership team, I mean, of my 9 direct reports, 7 are diverse, 6 are women. So, you know, it's an incredibly diverse team, and it just works better. And they deliver better results, and they have a better understanding and appreciation of different perspectives in the business. And so I think it's, you know, I mean, we're failing as an organ. I mean, the fact that half of IATA members have not signed up for, you know, 25 by 25, come on, guys. There's really nothing to stop us doing that. But that's just the start, right? You've got to really want to do it. And you have to have advocates, and you have to have allies and champions in an organization that's going to kind of, you know, lift everybody to be successful. And so it's a long journey. But for me, with my diverse team, it's just a really high-performing team, and they achieve incredible results.
Why is it that only just over half of IATA's members have signed up to the 25 initiative? I don't even think it's that hard or ambitious. I mean, really, I think you could be able to go further. Poppy, why do you think a lot of members haven't signed up to it, and what would your message be to them?
So I'm from a regulatory authority. It would be nice to throw it back to the IATA members to answer as to why are you not signing up for such a noble cause, a fundamental human right issue. Why are we, is it fear?
Is it fear? Is it, Robin, do you think there's a concern about lack of talent?
No, I mean, I don't want to speak for those who haven't, but you know, things I've heard are things like, you know, we've already done it, so we kind of don't feel we need to do it, or you know, maybe it's not a priority what we got now. I mean, like, as an industry, we have a huge labor talent shortage over the next 20, 30 years. Like, we are privileged. We're in a growth industry. We need people, and so we've got to make this profession more attractive. And so that means hiring people from, you know, we need people from all walks of life. We need to get people from other industries to come and work in this industry. So they've got to feel it's really welcoming and diverse. I mean, look at what we do. We fly all around the world, diversity. Our customers are incredibly diverse. I mean, everything we do is diverse, and yet we've kind of failed that last piece in terms of making sure we have enough diverse leaders in these organizations.
I mean,
If I may add,
yeah, please.
I actually do think that it's leadership. If leadership is not setting the right tone at the top, including in their own respective organizations, by having those unwritten ground rules, where we say, around here we don't discriminate against women. Around here we create safe spaces for women. We create a conducive environment for women, you know, to be who they want to be. We allow creativity. We give that psychological safety, you know, spaces. For as long as we have leaders who don't have that foresight, and about the benefits, back now to your previous question, the benefits of having both women and men working together to achieve, you know, the results of an organization, understanding that one doesn't have to compete with the other, and that both men and women have a lot to offer, I think we are doomed. So we need leaders who will take bold steps, who will be intentional and deliberate about wanting to see diversity, inclusion, and change in our organizations.
As part of this initiative, best practices have been drawn up. From your experience, Robin, is that where it begins, the leadership? And what else can organizations do?
Yeah, I mean, I think absolutely starts with leadership, but it's about, you know, the way, I mean, what I found quite helpful is to kind of focus on some specific areas. So, for example, people, and that, you know, that's talent, that's hiring, that's leadership development, sourcing, so making sure that a percentage of the money that we're spending with business partners is with diverse owned companies. And then, you know, marketing and customers, so making sure we're talking to our diverse customers as well. So that's what we found, like, to be incredibly focused on what are we going to do, why are we doing it, and then making sure that we're making improvements along the way. And it's the activities that are important. And what I found is, as senior leaders, we've now reaching down to sort of managers and coordinators in the organization, again, which tend to historically be very diverse, to make sure that there is, people who really want to invest in their careers, and what can we do to support you. And I think our culture is important at JetBlue. We're very sort of, caring is one of our values. I think people like working there, and we support each other. And the fact that we've never furloughed anyone, we've never furloughed or laid anyone off in our history. And so that gives, I think, people confidence to invest and spend a career with us.
Poppy, what would you like to see come out of this summit in terms of diversity?
I think we've been talking a lot, advocating about diversity, women, inclusion, and so on. And I think it's just time that we do it, because it's the right thing to do. It's a morally thing to do. I don't see what else must we really say to each other to convince each other why this is so important. Leaders must just lead. Take leadership. I am a leader of my own organization, in as much as I hate to talk about statistics because it makes me feel one myself. But I could do it in less than 10 years to have 51% of the female staff complement of the Civil Aviation Authority as women. So why can't we do it? It's not that the talent is not there, it is there. We just don't want to go and look for it. And if we take those decisions, because to me, not to transform is a decision that you've taken already. And to want to transform is a decision that you take. Not to transform is equally a decision that you've taken. And I think we just need leaders who will take decisions and want to do it. And it must be able to show, because the results will not lie. When we come back in the next IATA AGM, I'm sure we will be seeing both hands coming together, lifting the table from here to there, instead of using just one hand.
On that note, I really hope so. And I hope there comes a time where we don't have to have a panel on diversity. But perhaps not in my lifetime, but here's hoping. Thank you very much, both of you, and I will hand back over to Jane.
Great. So thank you so much for your insights, and also for the call out to encourage people to still sign up. There's still some time. This is a really great part of our awards now, and that's really about celebrating people who are taking active leadership roles in diversity and inclusion. And we look at 3 different categories of these awards, and they are, as ever, kindly sponsored by Qatar Airways. And these awards really make a difference to people. This is now our 5th iteration of the awards, and we know from previous experience that being an award winner gives credibility to people when they're talking about these really important issues. So I'm going to start quickly, and I'm going to start with our first winner, which is the High Flyer. We had, for all of the nominations, nearly 100 nominations for all of these awards, so it's getting harder and harder to pick, and we see some really, really worthy candidates come up. So the High Flyer nominations, there was 4 on our shortlist. And I'm delighted to announce that the winner is Camila Turrieta, and she works for the Airline Pilots Association and also JetBlue. So Camila, if you'd like to join us, where are you? If you'd like to come up. While Camila is joining us, she's done some fantastic work, and what we're recognizing her for today is the work that she's been doing on anti-harassment and anti-discrimination, and really changing the language which we use, and representing 63,000 pilots? 74, wow, okay, 74,000 pilots. So if you'd like to take...
Thank you so much. I am honored to receive this year's IATA High Flyer Award. While I was individually selected and nominated by Captain Claudia Zapata Cordon from United Airlines, I accept this award on behalf of the dedicated pilot volunteers and staff that volunteer with me with the Airline Pilots Association, ALPA, on the Diversity, Equity, Belonging, and Inclusion Committee. Currently, as the chair of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee at ALPA, we have a long history of working to improve and safeguard the aviation industry with an emphasis on protecting our pilots. My work as the chair of this committee focuses on one aspect of ALPA's efforts, which is to strengthen the piloting profession by promoting an accessible career and creating a diverse and inclusive culture for our current and our future members. We're doing this by providing information, providing resources, having discussions, sharing stories, and acknowledging that we as an industry can and must do better. Another step we took recently was to update all of our ALPA manuals and handbooks to make them gender inclusive. And these changes really paved the way for ALPA to provide gender inclusive recommendations to the FAA, which led to our participation in the very first FAA's Diversity and Inclusive Summit. And that laid the groundwork for the creation of an inclusive language task force. Being able to bring stakeholders to the table to discuss the adoption of gender inclusive language will hopefully lead to ensuring that no one is ever discouraged or excluded from our industry, and that they're properly represented in policy language, flight manuals, etc. I would first like to thank Qatar Airways for their continuous sponsorship and support of the IATA Diversity and Inclusion Awards. But none of this would be possible without my husband and my family for their continuous support, because without any of them, this advocacy work that I am able to do would not be possible. But most importantly, I would also like to thank the former ALPA president, Captain Joe DePete, for being an upstander and creating the diversity committee within the Airline Pilots Association. And thank you to all of you for being here today and sharing the collective passion in promoting a diverse and inclusive workplace that champions dignity and respect. As someone said to me once, let's leave our industry a better place than we found it. Therefore, I really applaud each of your work and your time in committing to these diversity and inclusion initiatives, but I also challenge each of you to continue to advocate for change. Listen to those whose voices have been marginalized for far too long, seek to create balance, and find new ways to propel diversity and inclusion initiatives forward within your organizations. This will only make us better and stronger together as an industry. Again, thank you for this great honor.
Okay, well, while they're getting their photos taken, I want to talk about the Inspirational Role Model Award. So this is an area where we see inspirational role models around us all the time, and they're really, really important for future generations to be able to look up to. And we have a slightly unique situation this year, so you've just seen Poppy talk, but we ended up in a situation where what we wanted to do this year was we also wanted to recognize somebody for the work that they do. So we would like to recognize Noor Gokman for the work that she's done to hit it, and obviously they're a sponsor here as well. I promise you that had nothing to do with it. Actually, the application was so strong, but she was just picked to the post by the winner of this year's award, and that is Poppy Khoza. So you've just heard from Poppy. She is the CEO at the South African Civil Aviation Authority, but she has a unique record. She is one of the first females elected to chair the ICAO Assembly. And I can tell you from watching it online, she really ran a very tight ship at ICAO. But that's not just what we're recognizing her for. We're recognizing her for the things she's just talked about, and that's leadership. So she's driven a change within her organization to change the dynamic of representation. So Poppy, we're delighted to honor you with this award.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jane, and I also want to thank the IATA DG and the board for this recognition, which I am extremely humbled about. Also to thank Qatar Airways for their generosity and support, to thank my family, my organization, and my government for supporting me in my journey. As I accept this recognition, I want to share these few words with the leaders here and present. As a woman myself, I take no pleasure to repeatedly having diversity, inclusion, gender equality, empowerment discussions about me and those who look like me. As uncomfortable as it is, I accept that these discussions are important to shape the discourse in boardrooms across the world. It's the only way we can ensure that spaces are created for women in those boardroom tables. Being seen or defined as a statistic is no fun. I want to be seen and defined for what I bring to the table and not to be overlooked purely based on my gender. As a woman, I want it to be normal to walk into an interview room knowing that all candidates will be evaluated on merit and based on their competence and not because they are of a different gender. I want us to move towards retiring the phrases like first female this and first female that when we celebrate appointments. When a woman is appointed, it must be normal like it is when a man is appointed. I want it to be normal to do my job, free from permanent supervision and scrutiny, fighting to keep my job and proving my capabilities and worth 3 times over compared to my male counterparts. I want it to be easy for a girl child, my daughter, to dream big without feeling intimidated by the toxic masculinity in the workplace and to participate meaningfully in decision-making. I want my daughter to be her authentic self without trying too hard to fit in and emulating her male counterparts for acceptance. Let us normalize building working environments that believe in women without question or doubt. I want it to be normal to have the permission to make mistakes and be allowed to learn from them without being judged harshly. The leaders in this room have the power to normalize this abnormality by being deliberate in implementing change and taking bold steps to advance diversity and inclusion. We are strategically positioned as leaders to influence the outcome of such programs. It is indeed time for action and less talk. The leaders right here in this room can make this abnormal normal by creating a conducive environment free of stereotypes and unconscious biases, by introducing policies that your daughters, your sisters, your nieces would be proud to work in. To the women in this room, we must know and understand that we are phenomenal women, and phenomenal women we are. Our femininity is not a weakness, but a strength needed in each boardroom. The success rate of companies which have embraced diversity and those that are led by women is evidence of this. I thank you so much, IATA, and God bless you.
Thank you, Poppy. Fantastic.
Thank you so much.
So Poppy talked a little bit about kind of being authentic, inspiring, being who you are. And our next award goes to the Diversity and Inclusion Team of the Year. And at the heart of their campaign, so that you can see the competition, as always, very, very strong for this. But they have a fantastic campaign which they launched, which is called the Be Yourself strategy. And it really is about embracing the true spectrum of diversity and inclusion. And I'm really delighted to invite Ricky Christensen from Virgin Atlantic to join us to talk about what they've been doing. Thank you.
I am really honored to be standing here today and receiving this award on behalf of Virgin Atlantic. I want to start off, of course, thanking the judges for recognizing and acknowledging all of the work that we have done and allowing us to share it with others. On a personal level, as a female leader in a male-dominated industry, I have been confronted with the unique set of challenges that we face as an industry. And more needs to be done in inspiring young people into aviation. At Virgin Atlantic, we use our business as a force for good, being loud and bold for positive change. Let it be on sustainability, communities, diversity, equity, and inclusion. We are incredibly proud of the journey we've been on and what we've accomplished so far. The launch of our tattoo policy resulted in our cabin crew roles increasing by more than 552%. And following our gender identity uniform campaign, we received over 10,000 applicants for just 800 cabin crew roles. But it's important to highlight that the work we do is more than simply policy refresh. It's a purpose-led campaign that creates both conversation and awareness, changing the way people view travel and challenge other travel providers to look at their own policies. Using our business as a force for good also means positively impacting our communities. We do this through our Passport to Change program, which is funded through Virgin Atlantic Foundation. Through this, we aim to bridge the gender and equity and ethnicity gap within STEM, improve social mobility, and maximize opportunities for all students in our communities. The 25,000 that comes with this award will allow us to continue this life-changing work. More concretely, this award will cover the salaries of 2 teachers in India and admission fees and books for 200 refugee students. In addition to this, in UK and US, it will enable us to give 400 students access to one of our inspirational Passport for Change workshops and another 100 students receiving a place at our STEM workshop. But of course, more needs to be done. We are committed to listening to our people, our customers, and partners, and we will continue to be bold, change makers, and most importantly, visible allies as we continue to see the world differently and celebrate the colorful diversity of the world around us. Thank you.
So much to all of our winners. I actually would like to just invite, I know we've got to do some hygiene stuff around lunch, but I'm going to invite our winners back so that we can take some more photos while you give the instructions for lunch. So thank you, and don't forget, these awards open at the beginning of February, March every year. We would really like to see your submissions so that we can showcase them. Thank you.
Fantastic. Congratulations once again. And Jane, thank you very much for leading us through this session.